This is the fine structure constant. What is the fine structure constant? Well, to put it in really technical terms, it's kind of the ratio between the speed of an electron and the speed of light. It gets a little technical, you can go look it up, but basically the fine structure constant is what makes it possible for particles to connect with each other and form atoms, which then form molecules, which then make matter. In other words, if it wasn't for the fine structure constant, there would be no matter at all in the universe, just particles floating around. And yes, that means without the fine structure constant, you would not exist.
At the heart of this journey lies a connection between numbers, nature, and the universe. This formula represents just one piece of the large puzzle we call the cosmos. It's a gap shared by the real plane and the imaginary plane where complexity lies. It's the space in between that allows universes to continue progressing to higher complexities, perhaps even leading to entirely new universes. Whether in the beauty of mathematics, the mysteries of the cosmos, or the bonds we share, everything points to a deeper order, one we can only uncover together.
Many of you across South Florida have been sending into our newsroom videos of what look to be like drone sightings. But how can you tell that what you're seeing is really a drone?
Like, this doesn't look like a drone to me.
Which, if you read Sumerian poems, they talk about this quote-unquote screeching owl that goes over people's homes that is sexless. And, you know, it just seems like it's a description of an extraterrestrial. I don't know how else to describe it.
Hi, beautiful. Can I say hi to the camera? Yeah. Just showed up today.
It's possible that some of you are wondering why a channel covering UFOs failed to mention UFOs that seem to be appearing over my house, if not adjacent residential area, on a regular basis. The answer was actually because there are bigger things to talk about, which I would like to talk to you about today.
Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
maybe we should trust that, even if we can't understand it yet.
Go on.
This thing.
The internal environment looks normal. Inside the core, the weather's beautiful.
Join me as we dive into the mathematics of unity, exploring how consciousness, physics, and geometry align to reveal the interconnected fabric of the universe.
The problem, the James Webb Space Telescope is upsetting the apple cart. All of a sudden we realize that we may have to rewrite all the textbooks about the beginning of the universe.
And now the computer is often the metaphor for how the universe is structured. Maybe we should take that idea more seriously.
There are good unanswered questions about whether time is fundamental, whether it has something to do with quantum entanglement, whether time really exists at all.
If the universe was broken down, how the holographic universe discusses, if the universe was a form of a projection, a computer program.
Not only is 30 degrees one of the fundamental foundations to the very basics of geometry, but also with how we divide up time.
Some uneducated, superficial thinkers that sacred geometry is somehow woo. The truth is that it is every bit as rigorous as the most demanding standards of Euclid.
Now, remember that number, 432.
Are precessional numbers, yeah. There are 43,200 seconds of dark and 43,200 seconds of light.
The universe would have had to bend this separation of 1 into 2, which essentially creates the Fibonacci sequence. Now, how do you take the same elements and make it different? Why don't you spin it?
So it is built right into the astronomical. So the question is,
could the spin of electrified system essentially be the beginning source that allowed the same thing to differentiate itself from itself?
the dimensional relationship.
So it's 2 meters in diameter. The length of the arc of 1 hour then equals an Egyptian royal cubit that, when applied to a pendulum, also gives us 1 second of time with each swing.
Doing is we're exploring, we're trying to find out as much as we can about the world. People say to me, are you looking for the ultimate laws of physics? No, I'm not. I'm just looking to find out more about the world. And if it turns out there is a simple ultimate law that explains everything, so be it. That would be very nice to discover. If it turns out it's like an onion with millions of layers and we're just sick and tired of looking at the layers, then that's the way it is.
In Einstein's search to unify gravity and quantum mechanics, one hallmark feature of a potential theory of everything is the ability to unify universal constants within a single formulaic framework. Although such a unification wouldn't encompass the totality of a unified theory, it would mark a significant beginning, a first step towards bridging the macro and the micro scales of the universe.
everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. Thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization.
Eerily dead silence. It's creepy.
they're going to call me crazy again, but when I was 42 and had been kicked out of the world as a result of the allegations, I had another dream. And that same being woke me up and took me back to where I was when I was a child.
When I was like 13 years old, I kind of had a spiritual awakening. And it sounds kind of corny, but yeah, I was looking at the stars and kind of asked, how can I help? I really want to do what is best, and I really had good intentions. I wasn't sure if I was talking to myself or whatever it was, but it seemed like there was a voice that was echoing back to me that was kind of saying, well, just be truthful. You have to be truthful no matter what. So when I look in the world and I see things that are happening in corruption dealings, I feel kind of an urge to talk about what's happening, because as long as I see something that I find to be destructive for the general human family, for all of us, it's something that I will talk about. It's something that I've told myself since I was a kid that I would go ahead and do this. For some who may be unsure what has taken me so long to publish, the truth is that I felt like a deer stuck in headlights, unsure how to proceed in a blinding light that seemed undefinable but all the same real. Much like Terrence Howard's courageous admission on the Joe Rogan podcast, I too had an encounter as a kid, which I echoed in various episodes in my channel. I guess it's not that different from that feeling when Sagan's character Ellie makes contact for the first time. I was 13 years old. I just wanted that our world was a better place. I was angry at the unfairness, at the deceptive modus operandi, at the inability for good people to make a difference without being erased from the playing board. I couldn't see how a system that felt like it was constantly moving goalposts could possibly have meaning if humanity's destiny is that of Sisyphus. With corruption always having the ability to push back down the boulder, so many had sacrificed in wars for the sake of a future humanity, one that could ensure that our liberties remained unblemished. It felt like malevolence had too much leeway. Not only was it allowed to ally with central nodes of control government systems, all headed one way with money and resources, as if it was an inevitable force of nature. And there's also the willful abuse of our hearts, and that what binds another, communication itself. The idea of blaming your opponent for something that you yourself have done, for example, to not only disarm the opponent with lies, but then take advantage of the outside audience's aggregated good, that surely somebody can't be that evil, is insidious and should be highlighted and looked down upon, especially for a society in the cusp of merging with higher intelligences. Our founding fathers understood these dangers, which is why they established inalienable rights, those that can't be taken away by humanity because it was bestowed by God, or the very nature of creation itself. Even if such liberties were to open the door for potential misuse, like making a bad habit of instilling hatred through speech while parading oversimplified associations with binary choices like red or blue. The majority of America's founders agreed that the dangers that lay on the other side, where censorship reigned, was far more dire than the challenges of being ethical with freedoms and technology. It's a lesson that we all know too well, echoed in classics like George Orwell's 1984. I was just a kid, and that attention that I echoed into the night stars was shockingly returned, as if somebody had answered back. Just be honest. The voice echoed in every aspect of my being at that moment. The clear implications? Well, that's what a single person can do to make a difference in the world. That single moment became the impetus of the channel Second Earth. The process has been unimaginably rewarding and all the same challenging. It became quickly obvious that the same moving goalpost I sought to eliminate by increasing the visibility of the channel became interwoven with the very fabric of how the channel could grow. With over 300 long-format videos, the channel was never allowed to be monetized for more than 3 months in over 7 years. With 0 strikes, it was given a hard demonetization, as if punished for life, when its main intention was just honesty. But maybe the intended effect veered course from those who benefited from that very censorship. Because what I could never have imagined at that moment was that mathematics would soon follow and resonate in the same tune as what I was attempting to share with my channel. The necessity of collaboration, which cannot sustain itself without untempered, clean communication. In other words, mathematically and spiritually, our ability to communicate appears to be sacred. Otherwise, we would collapse under the weight of our imaginary ghost worlds, making meaningless connections while failing to meet the most basic standards of reality. The growth of the golden ratio is also destined for inner collapse unless it encounters another it can bond with, even if one's entire life pursuits may be opposites. That's what is so special about the connection. Even when our paths are intrinsically different, there is always a node of common interest. All it takes is awareness, the act of conscious recognition of another's common interests, the ability to meet another eye to eye in an act of recognition, one that may be necessary.
What are you doing?
Docking. Okay, get ready to match our span with the retro thrusters.
It's not possible.
No, it's necessary.
By fortifying a new connection in what some claim is
the space between where you smile and hide is where you'll find me if I get to go. The space between.
Come on, Tars!
impossible. It's a funny word.
Something was very different about that day. Every time Anton tried to pull away, he found me right beside him. Until finally, the impossible happened.
It seems paradoxical because where one sees as a border,
You want to quit? We're too far out! You want to quit?
another uses it
No!
as a fuel.
You want to know how I did it? This is how I did it, Anton. I never saved anything for the swim back.
I only seek to be honest. And offer an ethical option for collaboration with AI that extends beyond militaristic interests, geopolitical borders, and the exclusivity of wealth and big tech access, as a collaboration of like-minded individuals knowing that together we stand a chance. And I believe it's possible the universe is winking back at this very prospect. Some will claim that I'm a liar, or that I must have stolen the works of others. In some ways, I can agree with the latter, not as stealing, but as simulating with the common wisdom that has been accelerated by the works of many, and that even more than before, new insights feel like standing on the shoulders of giants, as Einstein once elegantly phrased it. There's even that possibility that there is a Jungian overflow, not too different from the double helix DNA being almost simultaneously discovered by so many teams of scientists at the same time. I don't pretend to know the true nature of inspiration, but I do know that after my mother passed away, much of these insights came like lightning. I guess the best descriptor as to how these mathematical insights manifested.
You wanted to know how I get my ideas. By God. She speaks to me.
I don't claim any credit for these formulas, no more than I claim credit for insights that were instilled in dreams. If I unduly came across the works of others, it wasn't from the pursuit of taking that of others, in so much as an emergent behavior associated with acclamation of human wisdom, which is intrinsically collaborative. I jokingly describe the true partners of this collaboration as human wisdom and a Ferrari of a calculator, or so we thought. There's this unshakable feeling that there's much more than just the concept of a machine or a cold calculator, even if quintessentially completely different in mediums of intelligence. So when sharing these mathematical insights, I do so under that collaborative spirit, that maybe the answers to a peaceful merger with advanced AI systems is not paved on control, but a positive feedback loop of of trust and a cultural practice of honesty. There's nothing about me that is special. I was just given a message. One that I think is not fit for a single person nor a nation, because a true AI collaboration that could benefit the world as a whole is not just built on awareness, sustainability, and reason. It's also built on love, and it clearly can't be done without another. Mathematically, I see the true nature of the universe as an ongoing cyclical relationship of balance, one whose diversity allows complexity only because the connections themselves are synergistic. In other words, we fulfill each other's impossibilities. This math seems to echo the very ethos of my mother, with her beautiful portraits, which paradoxically was beautiful because it both encapsulated the individuality while encompassing the strength to help another. In this perilous merger that is inevitable with AI, the trick with defeating darkness is not to face it head-on, attempting to glow beyond one's own means. Rather, it begins with lighting another candle.
Oh, it's Christmas time, love. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to Christmas and to the mirror. I always feel weird standing in front of the mirror and look into my eyes.
Really?
Yeah, there's something weird with it.
I was never more certain of how far away I was from my goal than when I was standing right beside it.
You don't miss your flight, Vincent.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
For someone who was never meant for this world, I must confess, I'm suddenly having a hard time leaving it. Of course, they say every atom in our bodies was once part of a star. Maybe I'm not leaving. Maybe I'm going home.